welcome back to Boring Reviews.
Boring Land.
Oh, just kidding.
Blasphemer!
Hello, right. Boring Review Nation!
Kind of pointless.
We know all things. Hello, Boring Review Nation! Gabe! And I'm back once again to bring you another edition of Throwback Thursdays. That's right, people. Throwback Thursdays back by popular demand. All right, let me be honest. Not too many people watch these, but I don't care. I love doing them. I don't know if it's even considered throwback because it's not that old, but I love this film. And I think it's an appropriate film to review this week simply because of the conversation that's going around the country and really around the entire globe as the global pandemic continues to spread. You know, sports is front and center, okay? Right now in America, college football, some of the 3 out of the big 5 conferences have canceled their seasons. That's huge. I mean, college football is religion in some states, basically. That's how serious it is, especially down south. And a lot of people are upset about it. You've got players playing in the bubble. Just today, a Seahawks player from the Seattle Seahawks got cut because he tried to sneak a girl into the hotel room in disguise. I can't make this up. Miami Marlins, who basically started an outbreak among several MLB teams. We lost several games. And I mean, you know, sports is just taking such a front and center. I think one of the first things I remember when we're talking about the COVID-19 and we're talking about the outbreak was, you know, Rudy Gobert licking the mic and, you know, making a joke of it. We all remember what happened. A couple days later, Donovan Mitchell comes out sick with COVID, a couple of other Jazz players, and that effectively ended the Utah Jazz season at that point and basically the entire NBA. So, you know, it's a big deal. The point is, sports is an institution, not just in America, but globally, okay? They're some of the biggest and most powerful companies, and these franchises, you know, hold a lot of sway. Bottom line, they hold a lot of sway. And the fact that it's even impacted sports, it tells you how serious the situation is. With that being said, you know, athletes get a lot of flack. And I normally defend athletes. I'm the guy that says, listen, let them get as much money as they can. I have family members who've in the past been athletes or current athletes. I was an athlete myself, you know, not at a pro level. But the point is, you know, you sacrifice a lot. And the people that make it are a very small percentage. You dedicate your life to athletics. So when you do that, I don't blame anybody for getting the money they can. I don't subscribe to those players that say, oh, I'm not a role model. That's one thing I will never defend them on. You are. The minute you put on that uniform, the minute you make that career choice, you made yourself a role model. Bottom line, which is why I don't agree with things like what Rudy Gobert did and licked the mic. Come on, seriously? That was just childish. But with that being said, you know, one of the very first films, and that's a film we're going to review today, that really humanized players and gave you a look behind the scenes, in my opinion, is Jerry Maguire. That's right, Jerry Maguire. I love this film, okay? And the thing about Jerry Maguire is that there's very little sports actually in the movie. It just takes you behind the scenes of what an athlete goes through, from getting drafted, right, to now trying to get your last contract. And basically, Jerry Maguire is the story of this agent who's a super agent. He has all these players signed to him. He's with the absolute biggest sports agency there is, and basically, he has a reckoning, okay? He has a change of heart, you know, where one of his players gets injured, and all he cares about is if this guy is going to be able to get back on the ice, because the guy wants to get back on the ice. It's a hockey player. If he doesn't get on the ice, he doesn't get his bonus. And then the kid's son really makes him feel bad about it. Like, yo, my dad may not be able to talk again. And then Jerry has this really come to terms with, man, you know, we got to look at these clients as more than just an asset. They're people. They have families. Well, he writes this whole memorandum out to the company, sends it out. It's more of a manifesto. And then he gets fired basically because he's saying, fewer clients, take less money, really get personal relationships with them. And that's not what these sports agencies are about. They're about getting more clients. The more clients they get, the more money they get. They don't really care about personal relationships. So it's funny, they send the person who he mentored, his understudy, Bob Sugar, by Jay Mora. Okay, he's a comedian. He's awesome. He's been in some other movies, Suicide Kings, probably his most notable film. He's amazing. But Bob Sugar is hilarious. He's the super agent. He is the new Jerry Maguire. It's funny when he's contacting Jerry's clients, he's like, I'm Bob Sugar and I am the Terminator. One of my favorite lines of that whole movie. And he basically steals all Jerry's clients except for two. The first one he doesn't steal is Rob Tidwell, who's an agent wide receiver. And Rob Tidwell, it's funny, he is at the end of his career. He's trying to get this last big contract so he can take care of his family. Because although he's been playing in the NFL, you realize that, hey, these guys retire relatively early and they got a lot of mouths to feed. Most of their college degrees aren't worth anything because they took like basket weaving in college. So the reality is this is their life. This is their career. After this, there's not going to be anything else. So he even says, I've got to get a contract to last me and mine a very long time. He ends up sticking it out with Jerry Maguire in an iconic scene that's part of pop culture. Show me the money. That's where that line comes from. Show me the money. It's awesome.
Show me the money! Jerry, you better yell! Show me the money!
And, of course, Cushman, a super college athlete, number one overall pick. Jerry has him. And, again, politics comes into play where Jerry has him signed. The night of the draft, he loses Cushman because Cushman's dad gets upset that he's giving Rob Tidwell too much attention. They make some innuendos there that basically is because of a racial factor. They're from the South, Rob Tidwell being a black player. But in any event, he loses Cushman. Bob Sugar steals him the night of the draft. So now he's a laughingstock of the agents of the sports world. He's got one client left. One, which is Rob Tidwell. So now he really starts preaching or practicing what he preached about, becoming more personal. He goes to all Rob's games. He's closely with them. He's trying to get Rob this new contract. The Cardinals don't want to give it to him because he's undersized and he's got an attitude. And he goes through everything with Rob, like he said, more personal relationships. He gets to go to the hospital when Rob Tidwell's wife goes into labor. He's a part of that. He becomes a part of that world. He understands how many people Rob actually takes care of. And then, in one of the biggest games of the season, Monday Night Football, Rob plays out of his mind. And there's this amazing scene when Jerry tells him earlier, like, look, sports is about bringing people joy, to having people forget about their own problems. Don't walk on there with your attitude and all the things you have in your life. Just enjoy it and embrace it. And Rob's like, you want me to dance? I don't dance for anybody. I play football. I put up stands, but what I do is not dance. That's not what I'm about. And he tells him that is what you're about. You're an entertainer. Sports is part of entertainment. So Rob takes this huge hit. To make a long story short, people think that they might have just ended his career. They start bringing the stretchers out, but no, he catches the huge touchdown to get his team into the playoffs, and he dances for the crowd. The crowd loves him for him. At the end of the story, he ends up getting the huge contract, and it just shows the beauty of this athlete's journey. And then another player who's Troy Aikman, who's there, tells Bob Sugar, why don't we have this kind of relationship? And Bob Sugar's like trying to give him a hug or whatever. He's like, get out of here. And Jerry starts getting clients back, right? So, all's well that ends well in this story. But the thing about this film is that it really starts humanizing these players. I cannot stand when people say, oh, they're not worth that kind of money. You don't realize what these players, I don't care if you're a cricket player, you're a baseball player, you're a basketball player, you're a football player, you've sacrificed a lot. Not just your body, but your personal relationships. These guys, in my own family have missed out on birthdays, missed out on family gatherings because they're out of state or out of town playing. And it's really a journey. It's really a lifelong journey. So every athlete that makes it deserves every single dollar they get. Does that absolve them when they do dumb things like try to sneak a girl into a hotel dressed as a man? Come on, dude. What were you thinking? No, that does not absolve them of that. Or does it absolve them when they do something silly like lick a microphone and make light of COVID-19 and get other people on the team sick? No, it does not. But just because they make a lot of money, I think sometimes they're unfairly judged, and we really need to take a step back and look at these athletes for what they are. They're people, they make mistakes, they're flawed, but they're there to entertain, and athletes have to understand that they are there to entertain, and they're also role models. All these kids grow up wanting to be a football player. They want to be a Michael Jordan. They want to be a Mike Trout. They want to be Virat Kohli, right? In cricket. They want to be these big names. So you have to embrace that as an athlete. You know, with that being said, Jerry Maguire, again, starring, there's a love story in there, and I almost flew by there as well. But Jerry Maguire, Tom Cruise plays Jerry Maguire. Renée Zellweger, she plays Dorothy, the love interest. Again, Cuba Gooding Jr. plays Rob Tidwell. He's amazing in this role. I mean, Jerry Maguire is probably, in my opinion, Tom Cruise's best acting ever. I mean, I'm a fan of Tom Cruise, but it's probably his best acting performance. You could put it on top of Top Gun and all the Mission Impossible films, and this is acting at its best. And he really did. He touched a nerve. He really did. And this film helped humanize athletes and make people understand that, yeah, 11 million sounds like a big contract, but when it's to take care of multiple family members for the rest of your life, that's not that big. And again, when you're getting laid out and you're in the hospital and your body's going to pay the price later on, so you really can't do too many other things after your retirement, you understand why they deserve every single penny. But with that being said, that's my review on Jerry Maguire. If you've seen it, let me know what you think. Absolutely, I almost forgot to give my grade. This is an A+. Let me know what you think, if you liked it, if you didn't like it. If you haven't seen it, watch the movie. I kind of gave away the plot, but I'm telling you, there's so many little endearing scenes in there that you're going to love. And until next time, I know all things.